Planet Dolan.
From biting off arm hair to playing with a friend's fingernails, the Planet Dolan crew reenacts some of the best true stories from our subreddit about our weirdest habits. I'm Pecan, and today I'll be your narrator. Number 10 was submitted by DerpyPeep123. When Gergak was 8, he had the habit of picking his nose. The weird part about it was that he liked to smear his boogers on only one wall in one room, which happens to be his 6-year-old sister's bedroom. Since she was so young, Gergak didn't think she would notice. One day, he was smearing a booger on his sister's wall when she walked in on him. Gergak quickly turned around to see her standing at the door, looking very confused. Then she went up to the wall and ate his smeared booger. He gave his sister a disgusted look before running out of her bedroom. After having seen his sister do that, Gergak stopped that weird habit. Number 9 was submitted by What Happened to Me 33333. Froggy used to have a weird habit that she did every night. She would sit on the toilet and bite her toes for hours. One night, when she was in the bathroom biting her toes, she fell asleep. The next morning, her mom went into the bathroom and saw Froggy sitting on the toilet with almost half of her foot in her mouth. Froggy ended up getting sick from having her dirty foot in her mouth all night, but that made her never bite her toes again. Number 8 was submitted by Tall Glass of Fuck You. Back when Pandora was younger, she would always forget to shave her hairy arms. Her forgetting to shave created the bad, weird habit of biting off her arm hair. There were even times when her friends saw strands of hair sticking out of her teeth, but wouldn't say anything. Pandora continued shaving her arms with her teeth until one day she got caught. Number 7 was submitted by Dragon Trainer HTTYD. The weirdest habit Salty Squid has ever had was back when he went to school. Whenever one of his teachers wasn't looking, Salty Squid would imitate a person's voice and either say, "Pink fluffy unicorns dancing on rainbows," or "Who let the dogs out?" The entire class was in on it with him. So a couple of students would also do the same thing. That way, the teacher couldn't tell who was behind the outbursts. Number 6 was submitted by Danger Dolan Fangirl. When Mimi was 7, she had a very weird habit. She would take a bunch of leaves from the tree in her front yard and bring them inside. Then she would stuff them into the blender along with milk and bleach before blending everything into a disgusting paste. When the concoction was done, Mimi would just stand over the blender and smell it until she threw up. Now, whenever she looks back on it, she doesn't know what possessed her to do that, other than the fact that she was a huge weirdo back then. Oh my god. What the hell? Number 5 was submitted by Banana Cars. Hellbent has this weird habit of chewing on cheap doll parts. Since their parts come off very easily, he would steal them from his sister and run into his bedroom. After closing the door, he would break off the legs, arms, and heads and chew on them. One time, while chewing on a leg, Hellbent began to choke on it. Luckily, he was able to pull it out. Despite almost choking to death, though, he continues to buy cheap dolls and chews on them. Number 4 was submitted by Albino Alpha. Although she has a lot of weird habits, the weirdest one that Princess Proton has is playing with her friend's fingernails. Her friend has very long fingernails, so she always takes her hand and brushes her thumb on her friend's fingernail. In addition, Princess Proton also likes to press and lift on them. The weird habit began when they first met, and it's something that Princess Proton isn't terribly proud of. Number 3 was submitted by eRay35717. James Shark has the habit of talking to himself, but that's not what makes his habit weird. Instead of having full conversations with himself like a crazy person, James Shark likes to talk to various parts of his body. The habit started when he was a kid, and he would have to go to the hospital because he was always getting sick. He had to go through blood draws and other medical procedures. The problem was that his veins were too small and sensitive, and tended to roll whenever needles were stuck in them. So, in order to try and make his veins into normal ones, James Shark would try to bribe them with hot baths and by drinking more water. Ever since, it became a habit for him to not only bribe his veins to work properly, but also other body parts. He would ask his hearts and lungs if they were doing okay and apologize to them whenever he was forced to run. Whenever his stomach gurgled, he would scold it for being too loud. One time, he even scolded his fingernails for breaking. Another time, he looked down at his foot and asked,
"Hey, what the fuck?"
when it began to cramp. Number 2 was submitted by Awesomeness693. A weird habit the Zaragamba has is sharpening pencils. While that isn't weird at all, he'll sharpen a pencil until it's very sharp, in which he calls super sharpening. It never matters whether or not the tip breaks off or becomes dull. Whenever the razor on his pencil sharpener wears out, Zaragamba buys a new one and proceeds to make every pencil he sees as sharp as a spear. What makes his pathological need for every pencil to be super sharp even weirder is that he also sharpens the lead on mechanical pencils. He makes sure to always have at least 5 pencil sharpeners with him, just in case he comes across a bunch of pencils. Number 1 was submitted by Killdozer688. Sid has a lot of weird habits. One that he does the most frequently is asking people if their watches tick. Although he'll ask anyone, he mostly likes to ask women because he thinks they're easier to talk to. The reason he asks is because ever since he was a kid, he enjoyed the sound of watch ticking. Sometimes in the middle of a conversation, he'll randomly ask whether or not their watches tick. He even has a mental scoring system for it. If the person says that they've heard their watch tick before, that's good. If the person holds it up to their ear to see if it ticks, that's great. If the person lets Sid listen to the ticking, that's icing on the cake. Back when he was in school, he asked all his high school teachers, several of his college tutors, and after school, many of his work colleagues. He also asked a lot of his friends, most of them being women. Even though Sid's questions about ticking watches is random, a majority of people he asks are tolerant with him. What makes his habit even weirder is that he doesn't even own a watch. Huge thanks for the folks over on our Planet Dylan subreddit for submitting their stories. We have another question for you. What was the grossest thing you ever did as a kid? Let us know in the Reddit page linked below and you might be featured in a future countdown. This video was made possible by our fans over on Patreon. Thanks for your support, guys! Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon!